You are listening to the Bag of Games Game Out Loud podcast for Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. Hello and welcome to the Bag of Games Game Out Loud podcast, and a very Merry Christmas to you, our listeners. I am your host this week, Colin Cooper, and I have with me Mary. I didn't write down any fucking names for you guys. I just realized it, like, as I was saying it.
Keep that in.
Just roll with it.
Well, Jordan Rusnak. Mary Jordan Rusnak.
We wish you a merry game, miss. We wish you a merry game, miss. We wish you a merry game, miss. And the podcast right here.
Nice. And, of course, we got the ho-ho hollerer himself, Rob Peterson.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Does this mean he hollers for ho-hos?
Sure.
Oh,
yeah.
I've never had a ho-ho. Are they good?
No,
is that the
they're not
chocolate
very good.
one?
That's the
Yeah, I
chocolate
think
one.
the cowtail thing. Is that what
Yeah, so the chocolate on those things feels more like a plastic product.
like wax, yeah.
Yeah.
But between the wax, there's like the foamy cream, which is super gross too.
That's made of lard, probably.
And chemicals probably. But moving on to video games, we are doing a kind of special Christmas podcast today. It's going to be our Game of the Year show. So we're going to kind of kick that right off. The way we're going to do this is we're going to start off with actually our biggest disappointments, and then we'll kind of go through our top games of the year. So let's start off with our biggest disappointments this year. That was pretty hard to think of for myself because it's been actually a pretty good year, kind of a quiet thunder, but pretty damn solid year. So I guess I'll start with you, Rob. But what was your biggest disappointment this year?
Yeah, and the other thing about coming up with the biggest disappointment is I think we're all pretty picky about the games we get. It's why there's not a lot of negativity on this podcast. It's not because we aren't negative people, because God damn it, we are.
Yeah, I am a fucking asshole.
We're just pretty careful shoppers. We usually don't pick something up unless we either have a good recommendation or we're pretty sure we're going to like it. So that made it extra difficult this year. But I think I finally came up with the Burial at Sea DLC for Bioshock Infinite.
Oh,
yeah. And which is, like you said, it's tough because, there are probably so many shit games that came out this year that we didn't play.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why we kind of went with biggest disappointment instead of worst game, because who knows? I mean, if you want to shovel through the bargain bin, you're going to find all kinds of garbage. And Burial at Sea is absolutely not garbage. We've talked about it quite a bit. It is good, I would even say, but it was still disappointing. The arc wasn't fully realized. It was very short. The gameplay was significantly less polished than the Bioshocks that have come before. And in a year where it's sitting next to such other great DLC, like Blood Dragon. Yeah, the Knife of Dunwall, the Brigmore Witches for Dishonored have come up a lot in comparison.
Oh, yeah, so much good DLC lately. That's crazy. Oh, and if you want to mention expansion packs, you got Brave New World and the other Civ 5 expansion packs, and I guess the XCOM expansion's great too. So there's been a lot of DLC that's been awesome this year.
Yeah, people seem to be really happy with the Borderland 2 DLC if you're into that sort of thing.
Those have been really good. I forgot about those.
Yeah, Tiny Tina's Quest or whatever.
I haven't played it yet. I got it in the Steam sale, but I have not played it yet. I can't wait to jump into that. I hear you can go slap King Jeffrey in the face.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my pick. I really think that for $15 and considering what we've come to expect from the series, they just bit off more than they could chew, and they weren't quite able to deliver the quality of product that we all wanted.
Well, which is really disappointing because the nostalgia that could come from that. They had a built-in audience right there with going back to Rapture. And I mean, if you bought this season pass, well, you're already getting the next one. But I'm really wondering how many people were like, "Yay, you go back to Rapture," and they just bought that, and they're like, "Oh, I will not be buying the second one."
Right. Well, I mean, people that want to continue the story maybe, or that are interested in that whole world, that's me. I fall into that category of I was disappointed with the game as well, but I'm interested to see if it fixes itself because essentially it's half a story.
Well, and they've already got the assets made, right? So maybe they can just go from here and make a longer, more in-depth DLC.
I hope so. Cool. Rob, anything else you want to say about Burial at Sea?
No, I think if you want my full thoughts, just go back a couple of weeks and listen to when we talked about it, because we got pretty in depth about what the problems and strengths of that were.
Right. And just real quickly, since you chose that one, I just want to quickly say that was actually my choice as well, for the exact same reasons. So,
wow, way to cop out.
well, like Rob said, it was a tough year to pick a big disappointment because of the video game Spidey sense we all hope we have.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jordan, so tell me, what is your biggest disappointment this year?
Mine was a game that I was already on the fence about, but I actually ended up picking it up because of the co-op element to it. And it was great for the first 5 hours. And then it just became the same thing, and it became boring, and I had to force myself to play it, and the other person I was playing with to play it. And that was Dead Space 3. I really had high hopes for that, as I loved the Dead Space series. Well, I loved Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2. Wasn't my favorite, but it was still good. Dead Space 3, they simply took out what seemed to be all the horror and made it more action, shooty, stuff like that, Not as much of the ambient area and the great level designs that they had before, and just that sense of dread.
It felt kind of like sci-fi Uncharted or something.
Yeah,
just a straight up action adventure game.
But you still moved like Dead Space, which that's one of my pet peeves with Dead Space, is that it plays like Dead Space, and they took a game that doesn't have a lot of action, quick shooting, and all that, and then has slower mechanics that you're up close to your character with, and made it so that you had those rushed moments, and it's this doesn't feel right. The game does not feel like it should be played like this, and the co-op just got droll. You're just running around looking for parts, and most of the time, I think we built 2 different types of guns, and we stuck with that. The crafting wasn't too terribly needed. You'd been better off just finding random guns. And
right.
Just overall, I was rather disappointed with that one. So my disappointment of the year was Dead Space 3.
Yeah.
Thanks, EA.
And speaking of horror shooters, I totally forgot about Aliens Colonial Marines, which I kind of saw coming, but for a lot of people, that one was bad.
So
yeah, I didn't either, but I have friends that were waiting for that, and they were pissed. Does anybody know if the class action actually went through on that?
Oh, I doubt it. That's just one of those silly things that people took way too seriously, I think.
I mean, it definitely was. They pretty much showed footage at that, that first trailer that was just really, really misleading, though. That made everybody think it was going to be this certain kind of game and it was going to look this way, and then it wasn't any of those things.
Yeah, I can see that.
If you market something that you're not getting, I can understand why that would be. I mean, consumers should be pissed about that stuff,
Yeah, but I can also just not imagine a pack of nerds going up against a big corporation and not having the corporation win.
A pack of nerds. That was a great mental image.
Yeah, I was going to say that does strike an image.
Murder, Marge. Group of nerds is called a murder.
That's funny. All right. Well, I guess that's good. Thank you, Jordan. Let's move on to the good things of the year, because there were a lot of good games this year, a lot of really fun games. Some of the coolest games I've played in a couple of years. So let's start off with our third place for the year. And Jordan, I'm going to kick it off to you.
Wait, we had to choose a third place?
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Let me look at all the games. No, I'm kidding. So my third place this year, some people might not agree with it, some people may, was Tomb Raider.
Boo! Oh, no, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not on my list, but that was a good game, surprisingly good.
Well, see, my problem was that I mean, it's the issue that Rob was talking about, and that is that I am so picky with the games I choose to buy. A lot of the games I had this year I did not have. I didn't buy a lot of 2013 games. But Tomb Raider was one that definitely stuck in my mind as, wow, this is a lot of fun. It's a nice reboot from the original games that I used to love and play. And I guess, they're getting the definitive edition, which is where they've smashed Lara Croft's face and tried to put it back together. So
I was going to say that's the only thing that was lacking in the first game was just her face didn't
broken
look smashed enough.
Yeah. Well, that, and I love at the VGXs they showed that one screenshot. I'm like, what the hell? They're like, yeah, we want to make her hair real, and it's all frizzed out. Yeah, great, bad hair day for Lara Croft. But no, I mean, this is one that we talked about. You guys enjoyed as well, I think. I didn't beat it, but it's definitely one that every time I see it on a Steam sale, since I just borrowed it from a friend. I've been like, oh, I need to get that because I want to finish it up. And I think I never played Uncharted, but if this is anything like Uncharted, then I will be going back and getting those games as well. Because it seems like that action-adventure style of gaming is kind of starting to appeal to me again. And this game has made that happen, because I never really liked that style of gameplay for the last while.
Yeah, it's a lot like Uncharted.
It is a lot like Uncharted. And I do prefer Uncharted 2 and probably even Uncharted 3 to Tomb Raider. But Tomb Raider is still a really good game. And it's a shame that it only sold like 4 million copies. Because
I know, right?
It's just such a disappointment for Square Enix to sell out, to merely go quadruple platinum.
Right.
So hopefully their next game sells 30 million copies so that they're only mildly disappointed.
What do they project for these things? Like, it seems like
they
Square Enix is always disappointed.
I think just with the budgetary expectations of that and the marketing budget and everything, it was that whole kerfluffle back in the day about that it only sold 4 million was it's just earnings expectations that a company they think they have the next Call of Duty maybe, or they think they can do a Halo thing or something, and then it's just does really awesome instead of super crazy awesome.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't do like everyone wants to do COD or GTA numbers. I mean, when that happens, like it just blows my mind still that 30 million units of Grand Theft Auto and however many millions of units more than that of Call of Duty.
Well, see, I wish game companies would be more happy with, we don't need to sell that many. We can make a product that is going to be unique and good and be happy with the money that they get from it. It's like, that's one of the reasons why I feel a lot of games are becoming just generic. Because
then why don't you go back to the Soviet Union, you commie?
Yeah.
It's capitalism.
That Tomb Raider costs $1 trillion to make.
Why is that?
$1 trillion.
Is that a communist measurement?
That's American measurement, sir.
It's American measurement.
That's American. Yeah.
But and it's kind of cool when you play Tomb Raider. You see those dollars on the screen. It feels very expensive.
Every strand of hair was $1,000.
Yeah, I don't know if they asked Michael Pachter what their sales were going to be, and it was just way wrong, or whose fault it was. But someone got it in their head that this game was going to sell 10 million copies. And sorry, it's 2013. Tomb Raider sold 10 million copies in '96. The landscape has changed. It's way more competitive. So I think they just got their expectations out of whack, and hopefully for the next Tomb Raider game, they get them more aligned with reality. Because the game is really good. It wasn't the fault of the game that it didn't sell that well. It's just that nothing sells that well except COD and Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, and GTA. Like, it's got to be the...
right, GTA.
Yeah. How about Elder Scrolls sold crazy gangbusters too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it broke 10 million shortly after launch. Something ridiculous.
And it's had like a long sustaining life too. You know what I mean? People still talk about it and mod for it and cosplay it and do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's never really left the top 10 most played games on Steam, I don't think, since it came out. So it's very
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I go back and play a fair amount of hours every now and then. Anyway, cool. Thank you for that pick. And I guess, Rob, let's go on to your third place.
Yeah, and this is a little odd because I'm going to pick a game I never actually beat because I kind of got my fill of it, but I still loved it, and that is No Kuni.
Nice.
I heard that game was pretty white and witchy.
White and witchy?
Yeah.
Because there's
a white witch?
White witch?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
I don't get the
joke,
witch?
But yeah, well, Wrath of the White Witch is the subtitle, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, the things I loved about this game, A, you have the beautiful Studio Ghibli animation. B, it harkens back to the era of JRPGs that I actually liked, the Square games of the mid-90s, where there's a sense of wonder and adventure, and maybe it's not the most original or complicated plot you've ever seen, but it's just executed with a ton of heart. It has a fun, unique feeling combat system. There are lots of fun, whimsical places to explore. It just really captures all the things I liked about a Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VI or something like that. So that one just stuck out to me at the end of the year. I don't think if you would have asked me right when it came out if it would be on my list at the end of the year, I would have said yes. But with the benefit of hindsight, absolutely. Really, really liked it. Recommend it to anyone who likes JRPGs.
Hey, just random real quick. You guys, you mentioned Studio Ghibli because they did the artwork. I did not know this, but in 1977, there was a Hobbit animated film made, and it was animated by Topcraft, which was a precursor to Studio Ghibli.
Really? So you're not talking about the Ralph Bakshi one, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Rankin Bass. Sorry. Ralph Bakshi was the Lord of the Rings one, wasn't he?
I'm pretty sure he did both.
No, because they're created by Rankin / Bass, a studio known for their holiday specials, and animated by Topcraft, a precursor to Studio Ghibli.
Well, Ralph Bakshi's the guy. You're talking about companies. Anyway, this doesn't really have anything to do with No Kuni, but I put it in the other day to kind of replay it and make sure it wasn't just my memory, right, kind of overhyping the game for me. And no, it still really is a ton of fun. So.
I played the first couple hours of that game with Nick Tolvey, who comes on the show occasionally. He loves that game. It's like one of his favorite games of all time. And I got through like the whole intro where that really important inciting incident happens that I don't want to ruin for people. And then I meet like the otherworldly guy with the ring in his nose, or the lantern in his nose. And I got I just got to the monster world or the other dimension or whatever it was, and I had my first fight. And I have to say, the intro was a little tedious.
Oh yeah, the intro sucks, and that is part of the thing here. This game is in it for the long haul. It's traditional in the sense that you're going to put 100 hours into it before you see those end credits roll. So it very leisurely meanders through the intro and the first bits, and really the whole game. It's not a super fast-paced game by any stretch.
Well, I mean that's there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just it's hard to judge a game on just an intro, especially like that.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, anything else you want to say about it?
Get it if you like JRPGs.
Yeah, I own it. I really should put more time into it. I don't even remember where I was. My wife actually bought it and then took it back to play it. Since we were 400 miles away from each other. Sorry, 212 miles away from each other. But yeah, if it's in your game of the year, I will definitely put more time into it.
Yeah. Oh, and let me say one more thing about it. No overblown CGI cutscenes.
All Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, they're beautiful anime style cutscenes. So that is a huge plus and something you don't get to escape very often in the JRPG market. So
cool. All right. Well, moving on to me. My third place of the year is actually GTA 5. A lot of people would probably put this at number 1. I've seen it already at number 1 at the VGX. And it's a really awesome game. It's hard to not make it number 1. But there were some other good games that obviously we'll be talking about soon. It was a tech achievement, blockbuster game. And I think it was its value is, so you can see the value of, how much money they spent. And I'm glad they made a lot of money back because it is pretty incredible. There are some things in the game that just, I don't even know how they do. Like flying over that jet over the entire island and never hit a load screen. You can go down, the cars load little, animations of them driving around. You can see all that from practically like sub-orbit. And it's a really amazing game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, huge tech achievement. Just the fact that they were able to do this on 7-year-old hardware and make something that is that visually impressive and such a giant conglomeration of systems that somehow don't just come screeching to a halt and breaking all the time. The game is fairly bug-free, especially if you compare it to an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout or something similar, big open world game.
Well, there's no game-breaking bugs, at least.
And I am so disappointed that there's no plans to bring it to PC, at least yet, or the next-gen consoles, because I would love to see what they could do. Because, I mean, that game looks fantastic on, like you said, on 7-year-old consoles. Imagine what it would look like on this current gen or a PC.
Yeah, I can promise you within 12 months we will be seeing it on both of those things.
Oh, I'll take you to that promise next year, December.
Yeah, remember this. And if I'm wrong, it would be every time I've ever made a prediction. So I'm not too worried because I'm always wrong.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, this game, not just technically, I mean, from a producing angle on getting these moving parts to come together to make such a huge product just is insane. I mean, they said there's an over 20-page typed out list for their credits. That's nuts. So many people, so many moving parts, engineers, artists, any the coders, whatever they need, like that's all there. Oh, I'm sure people that are just taking pictures of, went out to Los Angeles and took pictures of monuments, doing research. Oh my God, the amount of work, it's crazy that they pulled something like this off. 5 years development. Is that what they said?
I don't know.
No. Okay. I think it was about 5 years. Anyway, that is my game of the year, or as my third place for game of the year list. All right, so let's move right along then to our second place picks. So Rob, I'll start with you on this one.
So for second place, I went ahead and picked, and you're gonna shoot me, Colin, Bioshock Infinite.
All right, fair enough.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
How dare you
That
have
is
an
the
opinion.
messiah of video games.
How can I put it as anything other than number one? It's an insult. It truly is an insult. But yeah, it's really good. I was very happy with Bioshock Infinite. I've expressed some problems with the combat, and maybe it sags a little bit in the middle, but very strong beginning, very strong ending, and just an impressive game throughout. You fire it up. There's the beautiful music when you first enter into the city and come out of that first temple that you start out in. And there are just so many moments in this game that will always stick with me. So for that alone, it's got to be up there for the year. I think in a stronger year, this probably wouldn't have made my list, actually. Not to say that 2013 was a bad year, but I look back at 2012 and I see games like Walking Dead, Dishonored, Far Cry 3, Journey, all those great games. In that year, I wouldn't be talking about Bioshock Infinite right now, but for what we saw this year, absolutely, definitely way up there.
All right, good choice. All right, Jordan, how about you?
Well, we already kind of covered mine. My number 2 is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yep.
It took me, man. Like, seeing the sun rising over LA is a pretty cool feat. And the amount of area you have to cover in that game, just hours of fun. I mean, it had to be on my list for one major reason. My wife, who played a lot of video games as a youth and claims to be a gamer, isn't really a gamer anymore. But it did get her and I to sit down and play at least 7-8 hours with each other, just messing around in this world, having fun with the mechanics, flying around, mapping the map, just
rampaging.
Going all Trevor on that shit.
Yeah, that's hard to not do.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about this game that really makes me want to explore it, find everything, go around, see what these people have created. I've never been to Los Angeles, but if it's anything like this world, I'm never going there.
Well, plus Colin lives there, so you don't want to come within a 50-mile radius.
Well, yeah, because he'd probably just go all Trevor on my ass.
Yeah, it's that violent here. People cars exploding, people shooting everywhere. It's like Mad Max out here.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Postman.
And everyone drives dune buggies. It's really weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Or golf carts.
Oh, and nobody prosecutes Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
you just steal whatever car you see. It's fine.
No, they just call it driving there. You just walk up to the nearest car, throw whoever's in it out.
It's actually perfect communism here. You share everything, you kill who you want, and there are no consequences.
Awesome. Yeah. Grand Theft Auto 5. I haven't played any of the multiplayer yet, just because I hear it's not that grand. But I'm hoping one day I will get you three, meaning you, Marco, and me, on to play some of that online, and maybe I will talk about it then. But yeah, my second place is from Grand Theft Auto 5 because
the multiplayer is really not bad, actually.
Really?
No, it is pretty good. Yeah, it's really creative, and what comes out I think next month is their level creation kit. That's a free download.
How do you do that on a PlayStation?
It's like drag and drop.
Oh, like Tony Hawk.
Yeah, I think so. Or probably like Bungie's Forge editor, if you ever use that, where you can make levels. Like, they don't let you paint, move geometry and stuff. They'll be like, you can maybe have a rock here, and there's a blank landscape, and you can put a building here, and maybe a road here. Just paint. Did you ever do Warcraft 2's level editor?
No, I did not.
No,
it's like every level editor ever.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'm assuming
they give you the assets, you click and clack them over.
Probably.
Gotcha.
I bet it'll be pretty intuitive, I'm sure. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to our dark horse picks. That odd man out that we all had throughout the year. That doesn't quite make the top three, but it was a kind of a big surprise. It's a great game that came out of nowhere. So Jordan, I'm going to go right back to you on this one. What was yours?
Mine's actually a strategic move to talk about the game that stole so many hours of my life, but actually didn't come out this year. One of the DLC that came out for Crusader Kings 2. The Sons of Abraham, that added a whole bunch of Abrahamic religion events and different things you could do to edit these things, and involved the papacy and the College of Cardinals. just expanded that game ever so much for me. And because Crusader Kings 2 did not come out this year, it was not applicable for the Game of the Year discussion. But with the addition of Burial at Sea as DLC that did come out this year, I thought maybe I'd use that to weasel Crusader Kings 2 Sons of Abraham in.
All right, fair enough.
That game has stolen so many hours of my life. Like, there have been times where I'm like, oh, it's midnight, I should go to bed in an hour. Oh, it's noon, damn it.
Jeez, yeah.
I mean, you're living a life, like, and you can speed up time, and you can live generations, and just try to figure out what's going on in this realm. And I really, really liked what Sons of Abraham brought to it, because it really adds this thing of needing piety, which is one of the measurements. Like, it's an added bonus to that. Plus, I expelled the Jewry, and it just screwed me for all eternity. Like,
yeah, don't do that. It's not a good idea.
Do not expel the Jewry. I lost so much for doing that, but I didn't want to pay them back their 300 gold I borrowed. So,
well, that makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, there you go. You got to talk about Crusader Kings in the Game of the Year discussions. So that's pretty cool.
Yay! My life is.
All right.
I am happy I can die now.
Well, don't die yet. Let's finish the show. Rob, so what is your dark horse choice?
Well, with apologies to you, Colin, because I'm sure I'm stealing yours again. Call of Juarez Gunslinger.
You're not.
Oh, I'm not.
You're not.
Great.
That's a great choice.
Good. You talk about a game that from a series I didn't care about that came out of nowhere, was super cheap, and blew my mind. Sat through, I think I played it like in an afternoon, or maybe over the course of 2 days. But just really, really well made by the guys over at Techland. They took kind of a dying series and took it in a completely different, fun direction. Doesn't take itself seriously at all. Tells a rousing little tale. Had some interesting narrative stuff they did where the story changes as the storyteller is telling his story drunkenly in a bar. And, he'll get called out on inconsistencies in his story. And, oh, no, what I meant to say was, and then you'll see what he's talking about change as it's happening on the screen.
Yeah, that's so cool.
All that stuff was great. The weapon feel was really good. There wasn't really much AI. It was kind of a whack-a-mole type shooter, but just one of the best in that style I've played. So what else could it be? There were lots of great games this year, but that is the one that out of left field knocked me on my ass.
And the story itself was really compelling. The story he told, just the way, and the voice acting was top notch.
Yeah, it was like watching an old Western movie or something. That's really, really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it had all the West Western trope stuff. Like the ghosts and the Indians and the Apaches and the ambush and all. You got Wild Bill Hickok and
every famous cowboy is in there.
Yeah,
every famous outlaw.
I know, it's great. Yeah, that's a really good choice. That was very close to be my dark horse. I'll talk about mine when you're done. But yeah, that is a really, really solid choice. And runner up, if I could have one to my dark horse, I would say for sure too.
Yeah. Dark horse to my dark horse would be.
Yeah, right. Cool. Well, thanks, Rob. So my dark horse choice is actually Rogue Legacy, which was
that's a good one too.
Yeah, that game kind of I remember launching, but then it didn't really hit my radar just because I thought it was kind of a combat-y platformer. I didn't realize that it was essentially a 2D side-scrolling Dark Souls, really, with a lot more fun thrown into the mix there, because it's funny because you die so much, and that's literally probably the main mechanic, because you're supposed to pass on your traits, and then you have to pick your next line in the legacy, which is obviously the name Rogue Legacy, and the combat is really good. And at first it feels kind of clunky and weird, but that's because its RPG elements start ranking you up pretty effectively later on in the game. Give it a couple hours. I never beat it because it's incredibly difficult. The bosses are just brutal. And every time you die, you come back as one of three choices. Each one has benefits and negative aspects to them. But if you just run right back into the castle and forget to do this thing where you lock the last level, you can't go right back to the boss you were, and that boss isn't even in the same spot. So it's just because it's all procedurally generated, roguelike every time. So many great elements to that game, so much fun, and surprisingly deep.
I have yet to play a roguelike.
Oh, dude, that's like, I love that. Or roguelike likes, or however you want to say it. But
Roguelike?
Yeah, this was kind of the year of the mainstream roguelike in a way. There were so many of them, and like you said,
FTL
roguelike likes.
Yeah, I feel like FTL kicked it off kind of a little bit, and then like Sword of the Stars, the Pit came out, and
Eldritch, we can't forget Eldritch.
oh, that was close too for me for my Dark Horse. That was a really cool game, and they're having a huge free DLC. You're getting like it's twice the game. You're essentially getting a whole nother version of Eldritch, reskinned more like, but looks fun. The Mountains of Madness. But yeah, so that's my my Dark Horse. All right, so I think I actually skipped myself last round for my number 2 choice. Did I say my number 2 choice?
What was your number 2 choice?
A Link Between Worlds?
You did
No,
not say
you
that.
did not.
Oh, I did skip myself then last time. Yeah, my number 2 choice, I'll just quickly say it was, because I talked about it a lot, since it came out, since I've been playing it, I've been talking about it a lot, so I'll just mention it quickly. It's fantastic. And it's probably the best Zelda game I played since Ocarina of Time. So that alone it was almost my game of the year, but I haven't finished it yet. So maybe I'll have an addendum when I finish it, like in January. Maybe I'll have to kind of redo my list if it turns out to be that good. But yeah, it is my second favorite game of the year for sure. All right, so I guess we are at the climax here, huh?
Ooh, we're climaxing.
Da 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 da.
I don't get it.
And we are going to start. I don't get it either, but it was really great intro music for me.
That should be the Game It Loud podcast intro music now.
Just our voices.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. So I guess I'm gonna have to pick between you two to start this off. So I'm gonna pick Rob, Game of the Year.
Oh boy, what should I pick? Were we supposed to have these picked out already?
No, you can take your time.
Okay. Let's see. Game of the Year. Did I already say No Kuni?
You did.
No, that was only you talking in your own mind.
Sonic All-Star Racings?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Did I say Bioshock Infinite?
You did.
Okay. I didn't say GTA 5.
You didn't.
But that's not it. That was good, but that's not it. So I guess that only leaves Sony and Naughty Dog's PS3 exclusive extraordinaire, The Last of Us.
Oh.
But what's the game that's your number 1?
The Last of Us.
No, I know we're the only ones here, but what game?
That's
really? We're not going to make this work.
I never played it. Is it worth getting?
No, it's only his Game of the Year.
Yeah, no, don't get it.
Well, if Rob chose his Game of the Year, I should probably stay away from it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good choice. I'm only about halfway through the game, but I can tell it's fantastic.
Yeah, and much has been made about the story in this game, which is very, very, very good. Much has been made about the characters and the acting and all of that stuff. I want to take this opportunity a little bit to stick up for the mechanics, because I also really enjoyed the gameplay in this game. It's much more difficult than you're used to from Naughty Dog. The survival elements are fairly serious. There are some really challenging enemies in this game, including the clickers, who can take you out instantly. So that forces you to do a lot of stealthing, which I like. And rather than a gamey stealthy system like Metal Gear Solid or something where you're playing the radar, or Human Revolution where you have all these upgrades to help you, or Splinter Cell where the stealth is more like puzzle solving, you're figuring out the way that they want you to get through the area. This game, it just kind of feels like you're walking around being quiet and avoiding stuff. And it's very organic, and the only real power they give you is the ability to listen. If you find a quiet place, you can listen and kind of get the location of the enemies in your proximity to you. But other than that, it really just feels like you're sneaking around, which was really refreshing to me and gave it an extra layer of challenge and realism that really drew me into it. And the other thing I want to say about the gameplay is the upgrade system. It really rewarded specialization, which is very refreshing. The kind of the trend in games right now is to let you do everything, and you just become a god, a jack of all trades. And this game, there's not really enough upgrade stuff there to let you do that. You have to pick a path and stay with it. So between all those things, between the wonderful story and the unforgettable ending, this was my clear winner. There was nothing else even really close.
Very nice. All right. Well, that is your Game of the Year. That's a really solid choice. Jordan, Game of the Year.
My Game of the Year tastes bad in my mouth.
Oh, I don't think that's a game. You should go to the doctor.
Yeah, I taste pennies. No, I don't want to say I begrudgingly choose this game as game of the year, but it is a game that I did have issue with. But based on what I said earlier, it's like my top game that I purchased, I think, this year, and that is sorry, Colin, Bioshock Infinite.
That's a very solid choice. It's a very solid choice.
I like how I just never mind. Yeah,
you seem kind of sad about it. It's like
I am, because I feel that game could have been so much more. If it wasn't, I mean, this is my argument a lot of the time, and I'm just beating a dead bush and rooting around in a dead horse. Time and time again, I make comment that I wish games were not being made to sell to the masses. And that's where I think this game suffers. Bioshock was an experiment, granted that had been done before slightly with System Shock too, but it's a different world. It's a different meaning to the game as far as the combat. Like the combat in that was not made for you to be a shooter. It was a surviving look at, like, check out this amazing world. You have these new abilities. And it felt much better in previous games when it comes to the combat, which wouldn't be such a big deal if that game wasn't so heavily emphasized in combat.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think I feel like I'm one of the few people that enjoyed the combat in that game, but I could see why it's not for everybody.
It's really frenetic. That's what kind of like confused me a little bit. Bioshock 1 was fairly frenetic, especially compared to System Shock and System Shock 2. But Infinite really ramped it up. It was like Doom levels of just tons of guys and really fast and jump up on the skyline and bang, bang, bang. And it made it feel a little bit sloppy. I can totally see what Jordan's saying.
Well, and it feels like there wasn't a lot like realized with Elizabeth's tearing ability. They've done a little bit better job of that in Burial at Sea, I think, with the different things you can pull through. Like, I randomly pulled a samurai out, because
that was
one
cool.
world there's a samurai. But just having her pull sky hooks or like some ammo that's all the way. I mean, this woman can pull things from any dimension and anything that is anywhere. And all she does is pull the same 5 things. It's like, it seems like they didn't really realize that. And I think they dumbed that down quite a bit from what they originally were planning. But it is still a very, very good game. I like the story. I'm a sucker for Bioshock. Ken Levine has my balls in a vice. But yeah, I think it could have been better. But overall, I think that is worthy of my game of the year.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I'm going to quickly move on to myself because my choice is also, less begrudgingly, Bioshock Infinite. I do agree that like the combat, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. I think it would have been harder to do the same combat style because of the nature. I mean, with just the direction they went right from the beginning, having the big open areas and arenas and the skyhook, that just kind of lends itself to, I think, a more frenetic, like Rob was saying, shooting environment rather than kind of the dark tunnels where things come out and scare you, and then there are moments where things are coming from all angles. But it can't be that game almost does 360. Things can come at you from below you, above you, and all sides. Thankfully, it makes you powerful enough to handle it. But yeah, it does get a little tough sometimes, especially because it, like you said, it's like Doom, but there's bullets, so you can't like strafe dodge the bullets. They just kind of hit you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it was a really original way to tell that story. I think it was a really interesting story. A lot of neat like theater play references and things like that, because I know Ken Levine's a big writing nerd.
Really smart script in a lot of ways.
Yeah, super smart script. And interesting end.
Yeah. That was creative. One of the more holy shit endings I've ever seen. There were 2 great ones this year. The Last of Us is probably also equal to that. But
yeah, and there's kind of 2 moments in that. There's like the moment where you go up somewhere, and then there's the moment where a thing happens at the very, very end. And both those moments are like, oh my god. I mean, the one is much greater than the other, but
the last 20 minutes is basically a glorified ending cutscene, a great one. You can walk around and stuff, but it's really just having amazing shit happen to you for 20 minutes. Just like,
big set piece stuff's happening everywhere. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I think Ken Levine in the Bioshock series handles that stuff the best. When it's like the beginning of the game, when you're kind of walking, you come right into Columbia, or you come up to the lighthouse, you go up to Columbia, land in Columbia, go through it. That whole thing where there's no combat, that's just one of the best parts of the game too. Just seeing these incredible things. If it was real, you wouldn't even be able to process it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good.
Cool.
It's pretty. It's fun. It blows my mind. But the combat.
All right. Well, no, it sucks, but I played worse for sure. Probably this year even. Okay, so we've all got our individual game of the years. Now we are going to try to come to a consensus here. Think we can do this, guys?
Well, I think that the 2-to-1 ratio here with our number one kind of kicks Rob out of needing consensus, doesn't it?
Well, that's why I'm going to veto it.
He can be. That's can be allowed, I guess.
This is not President Rob. You're not the executive
we all
branch.
get a veto. We all get a veto.
I veto Rob's veto.
I use my veto to null your veto. I guess I don't.
You guys need a 75% supermajority to override.
That's funny. All right. So, are you really vetoing Bioshock Infinite? I'm assuming.
No, I think we should discuss it a little bit, though. I've just pulled up a list of best games of 2013, and there's probably a few more things we can at least throw a shout out to.
What are some of the things that you think we looked over? I mean, something that you would like to nominate. Would you like to nominate one?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No, I was thinking, I'm looking at this. Gone Home. I wasn't super thrilled with it, but a lot of people were very happy with that.
I did not play it.
Neither did I. You did, though, Rob.
Right. Well, that's just me then.
Yeah, just you, Rob.
Why don't you just go home?
I mean, there were a lot of really great games this year. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things. It's hard to overlook Blood Dragon. It's hard to overlook. I mean, even the Dishonored DLC. If you put those together, that's a game.
Yeah, hell of a game.
Yeah, super good game. What else were you going to mention?
I don't know. Well, now that I'm actually looking through the list, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. This year actually was a little light, especially compared to last year, like I said earlier.
Yeah, it was a little light, but with some really great standouts. But
absolutely. All right, fine. I guess.
Well, do you want to nominate something different? I mean, can we come to consensus on a different game? I think we all did last year. Last year with Dishonored was our consensus game. It
wasn't in any of our tops.
Yeah, but we came together to that was the game that we could all come together and say this is our game of the year because we all enjoyed it so much. And, you got to make concessions for other things, to come together, like a good governing body should do.
Right. Well, upon reflection here, I actually don't really see anything that fits that bill. There were some other good games this year, Assassin's Creed 4. I talked a lot about Lego Avengers or Lego Marvel Superheroes. Mm-hmm. But nothing that's really going to top out Bioshock Infinite. So I guess we have our choice.
All right. Is that the game out loud game of the year?
Yeah. Should we do a drum roll and then some music here?
Yeah. Music. And the winner is. And this year's 2013 Game Out Loud podcast game of the year is Bioshock Infinite. There you have it. The wait is over. I know there are a lot of people out there who are just really worried about what we were going to pick, but there you go, guys. Bioshock Infinite. All right, guys. So any last words before we wrap this little award ceremony up?
I'd like to thank all the Bioshock Infinites out there.
I would also like to thank all the Bioshock Infinites out there and all the Ken Levines in all his dimensions.
Yes.
Have wonderful holidays. Don't drink too much on the New Year's or you'll regret January 1st. That's never a good way to start off the year.
Yeah.
Never good, but the way I almost always do.
Yeah, that's very true.
I actually got over that, being a rather partying youth.
All right. Jordan wins this round. All right, so thank you guys. We will be seeing you in the new year, so I hope you had a good 2013. We had a great 2013. I hope you have a great 2014. So you can always reach out to us in the new year. You can tweet us at GameOutLoudcast. You can email us at GameOutLoudPodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us at our home at bagofgames.com. So from all of us to you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. See you next year.
We have one more podcast this year.
We do?
Yeah, 31st.
Oh, damn it.